Yeah. Online students, can you hear me? Yes, perfect. Did you complete your practice? Are you able to develop timely form with validations? Are you able to develop timely form with validations? Yes, okay. Yeah. Hi guys, good evening. In the last class, we completed our discussion related to form validations by using time leaf. So can you tell me what is time leaf and why we are going for time leaf? Time leaf is one of the present age technology that can be used to develop dynamic web pages. Now, earlier we used JSP as a presentation technology, but there are some challenges with the JSP. What are the challenges with the JSP? What are the challenges with the JSP? Every time that JSP should be converted to servlet to provide the response to the browser. Browser cannot understand JSP pages, right? So whenever we send a request for the JSP, that JSP should be converted to servlet. That servlet will provide the response to the browser. With that, performance will become slow because a request will come, JSP should be converted to servlet. Servlet classes should be compiled. Servlet classes should be executed. That should provide the response to the browser. To overcome this problem, we can go for HTML. HTML is a markup language which is used to develop our web pages. Whatever the web page we want to develop, that can be done by using HTML. But HTML having one drawback. What is the drawback of HTML? By using HTML, we can develop only static website. What is the difference between dynamic website and static website? Based on the user login, content should be changed in the application. If I log in into Facebook, my friend's post will be displayed. If you log in into Facebook, your friend post will be displayed. If I log in into Gmail, my mails will come. If you log in into Gmail, your mails will come. So that means user to user, the website behavior is going to change. That is called dynamic web pages. But using HTML, can we develop such kind of dynamic web pages, or we cannot develop dynamic web pages? By using HTML, we cannot develop dynamic web pages, right? For that, we are going to use time leaf. We are using time leaf in the HTML. When we use time leaf in the HTML, we can make our web page as a dynamic web page. Time leaf provided several tags: th object, th field, th text, th for each, th-href, th button, th submit, th form. Like that, there are several tags available in the time leaf. By using those tags, we can develop dynamic web pages. Are you clear with my point? Yes. Now, before going to start the new topic, let me quickly summarize what we have learnt in the web MVC as of now. Okay, fine. So here, first we understood what is Spring Web MVC. I want everybody to answer my questions. What is the Spring Web MVC? Come on. Spring Web MVC is a module. Spring Web MVC is a module that is used to develop web applications as well as distributed application, right? So earlier we developed web application by using servlets and JSPs. When servlets and JSPs are already available, why we are going for Web MVC to develop? It is a framework. It will provide some ready-made classes. It will make our application development easy. By using frameworks, we can write the less code and we can develop more functionality, right? So Spring Web MVC is one module in the Spring framework that is used to develop web and distributed applications. Can you tell me what is the difference between web application and distributed application? What is the difference between web application and distributed application? Web applications are used for customer to business communication. Now, Ashok IT website is there. You want to download the class notes. You want to see what all the new batches are available. Then what you will do? You will open your browser. You will access our website. You are my customer. I am running a business. Training Institute is my business. You are my customer. You are communicating with my business by using one website. So that is called web application. Web applications are used for customer to business communication. What about distributed applications? Distributed applications are used for business to business communication. One company doing some business, another company also doing some business. They want to communicate. For example, Google Pay, Paytm. Google Pay doing some business, Paytm is doing some business, PhonePe is doing some business, SBI Bank doing business, HDFC Bank doing business. From my Google Pay number, I can send the amount to your Google Pay number. Your account is in SBI, my account in the Axis. From my Google Pay number, amount is coming to your Google Pay number. My amount is available in the Axis Bank, your amount is available in the SBI. Here, Google Pay communicating with my Axis Bank, Google Pay communicating with your SBI also. Both are doing the business. And Make My Trip is doing business, IRCTC doing business. By using Make My Trip, you can book the train ticket. Make My Trip will communicate with the IRCTC. That is called business to business communication. To develop business to business communication based applications, we can go for Web MVC. That movie will start from coming Monday. How to develop distributed application. How one project can communicate with the another project. So I hope you got the clarity. Web application versus distributed application. Web applications are meant for customer to business. Distributed applications are meant for business to business communication. Are you guys clear? Next one, we discussed what are the advantages. What are the advantages with Spring Web MVC? Come on. What are the advantages with the Spring Web MVC? Spring Web MVC having the most important concept in the Web MVC, form binding. What is the meaning of form binding? Capturing the form data to the object, sending the object data to the form. It is a inbuilt functionality. I want to edit a record. I will send my object data, then it will populate in the form. If I submit the form, form data will come in the form of object. Object data I can map to the form. Form data I can map to the object. That is called form binding. And not only form binding, there is a flexibility also. Everything coming in the string format, converting to the double value, converting to int value, converting to the long value. Flexibility is also available. And another advantage, so Spring Web MVC supports multiple presentation technologies. Is it forcing to use only JSP as presentation? No, it is not forcing to use only JSP as a presentation technology. If you want, you can go for JSP, or if you want, you can go for Timeleaf also. Another advantage, embedded server. What is the embedded server? Inbuilt server is available when we develop our project by using Web MVC with boot. Web starter is available. By using web starter, we can develop a web application and we can develop RESTful applications, and it will support for embedded container. What is the embedded container we are using? By default, what is the embedded container? Apache Tomcat is coming as the default embedded container. So like that, there are several advantages available with the Spring Web MVC. Then next one, WebMVC architecture. Do you know Spring WebMVC architecture? Yes, right. Dispatcher servlet, handler mapper, controller, view resolver, and view component. But now tell me the architecture flow, execution flow in the WebMVC. Come on. Prasad, speak out. Whenever request comes, who will handle that request? Request will be taken by dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet will process the request, send the response. Dispatcher servlet will process the request, will send the response to client. No. Dispatcher servlet meant for pre-processing and post-processing of a request. What is the meaning of pre-processing and post-processing? Pre-processing means before processing the request, it will capture the form data, bind to the Java object. Post-processing means whatever the response is available, send the response to the client. That is called predefined servlet in the WebMVC. It is also called as framework servlet in the WebMVC. It is responsible for pre-processing and post-processing of a request. Tell me, how request will be processed in the WebMVC? When client send the request, it will come to dispatcher servlet. Then dispatcher will process and send the response? No. What dispatcher will do? Come on guys, speak out. Dispatcher servlet will give that to handler mapper. What is the purpose of handler mapper? Identify which controller should process this request and give the controller data to dispatcher servlet. Then what the dispatcher will do? It will go and call the controller method. What is a controller? It is responsible to handle the request and response. Controller will handle that. Controller will return model and view object to the dispatcher servlet. What is a model? What is a view? Model is a map to represent data in the form of key and value. View is a logical file name. Then once a controller return model and view, what will happen? Dispatcher servlet will give the view to view resolver. What is the responsibility of the view resolver? Identify where the view files are available. What is the view technology? It will give the view location to dispatcher servlet. Then dispatcher servlet will give the model data to the view component. What the view component will do? Render model data on the view page, send that to the dispatcher. Then dispatcher will send to the user. That is WebMVC architecture. If anybody asks you, how request will be processed in the WebMVC application? Same flow. Dispatcher to handler mapper, dispatcher to controller, dispatcher to view resolver, dispatcher to view component. Dispatcher is called as front controller. What is the meaning of front controller? Before our controller, that front controller will handle the request. That will take the request, will give to the actual controller. Right. So we understood WebMVC architecture and we know what is a dispatcher servlet. If anybody asks you what is a dispatcher servlet, dispatcher servlet is a framework servlet. It is a front controller in the WebMVC. It is responsible to handle request and pre-processing and post-processing. Then we know what is a handler mapper. What is a handler mapper? It is responsible to identify which request should be handled by which controller class. Then we discussed about controller. What is a controller? How to make the Java class as a Spring controller? @controller is the annotation to represent our Java class as a controller. Controller is also called as request handler. It is responsible to handle the request. That's why it is called as a request handler. Which request should be handled by which controller? Identified by handler mapper. Then after we discussed about what is a model and view. What is model and view component? Tell me, what is the model and view component? Model is used to represent the data in the form of key and value. View represents a logical file name, right? Then after we discussed what is a view. What is a view? It is responsible to render model data on the view page. Before that, we have what is a view resolver. What is a view resolver in the WebMVC? Can you tell me what is a view resolver in the WebMVC? To identify where the view files are available. Once it identified, dispatcher will give that to the view component. View component will handle that and will render the data. Perfect. Next, after that we discussed HTTP methods. Now we have used HTTP GET request and HTTP POST request. Here I'm using @GET mapping and @POST mapping. What is the purpose of GET mapping and POST mapping? GET mapping is used to map our method to GET request. POST mapping is used to map our method to POST request. If you want to develop a GET request method, bind it to @GET mapping annotation. If you want to map method to POST request, then go for @POST mapping. Then after we discussed what is request param. What is the purpose of @request param? It is used to capture the query parameters from the URL. So now I'm clicking on ID. ID I want to send to the controller. ID will go in the URL. To capture the data from the URL, we will go for request param annotation. Path variable is also available, but I have not discussed that yet. Path variable also will come. Currently, we have used only query parameter. In the interview, they will ask how to read the query parameters in the Spring Web MVC. How to read the query parameters in the Spring Web MVC? By using an annotation called @request param. Then after we discussed about Spring MVC form tag library. Spring MVC form tag library. What is the purpose of MVC form tag library? What is the purpose of MVC form tag library? Form tag library is used to develop forms with a dynamic nature. I want to send some data to my form. For that, I'm going to use form tag library. Can you tell me some tags available in the form tag library? Form colon input, form colon radio button, form colon checkbox, form colon select, form colon option, options, like that there are several tags are available. Okay. Then after we discussed about H2 database. What is a H2 database? H2 is a in-memory database. What is the meaning of in-memory database? H2 is a temporary database. When the application started, my database will start. When the application stopped, then my database is going to stop. H2 is called as a in-memory database that we can use in the Web MVC. All right. After that, we discussed what is a time leaf. We discussed what is a time leaf. Tell me, what is a time leaf? Come on. Time leaf is a template engine which can be used at the HTML to make our web pages dynamic. Then we discussed how to perform form validations. Do you know how to perform form validations? Yes, we know how to perform form validation. Spring Boot validation starter is available. @not blank, @not null annotations are available. By using binding result, we can implement validation check. After that, we implemented CRUD operations by using Spring Boot and time leaf. CRUD operations, CRUD application with boot plus data JPA plus time leaf. Right? So last application that we implemented by using time leaf, we are able to insert the record, we are able to retrieve the record, we are able to edit, and we are able to update the records also. CRUD operations we have completed by using boot with data JPA with time leaf, boot plus WebMVC plus data JPA plus time leaf, and even I have added bootstrap also to apply some styles for the web pages. Right. So I hope these are the concepts that we discussed in the WebMVC as of now. Anything which I missed to note down here? Modal attribute. Yes, we discussed one annotation, that is @ modal attribute. What is the purpose of modal attribute annotation? What is @ modal attribute? Come on. Capture the form data and send the binding object back to the UI. So if you want to send your form binding object to the UI, then you can go for @ modal attribute annotation. Clear? Now, let us see. Currently, in our application, we have added web starter. Let me show you that. So here, or else let me create one new project, guys, so that I will give you more clarity on that. File, new, Spring Starter project. I want to create one simple web application with a time leap page. That's it. Now, 20 Spring Web MVC. At 20. Okay. Web MVC embedded server. Web MVC embedded server. Click on next. Now, time leap, dev tools, and web starter. That's it. Okay. I'm taking time leap starter and dev tools and web. Click on next. Click on finish. Okay. Now go to my form.xml. Guys, I selected web starter. Did I select Tomcat starter at the time of creating the project? I selected only web starter. When I select web starter, automatically what is happening? Starter Tomcat is coming. Can I call this dependency providing embedded server for us? Can I say it is providing embedded server for us? Yes, it is providing embedded server. Let's run our application and check this. Now, right click, run as boot application. Go to console, check this. Now, can I say Tomcat server started with port number 8080? So, am I starting the Tomcat or it is coming by default? The Tomcat is coming by default. That's why it is called as embedded server. Now, here in the form.xml, starter Tomcat dependency available. Now let me cut this dependency. I have deleted that dependency from my form.xml. Okay, guys. Now see the dependencies. My time leap starter is available. My web starter is available, and my dev tools are available. Tomcat starter is available, or Tomcat starter is not available. Tomcat starter is not available. Now let me run the application. Right click, run as boot application. I'm running my application. Check in the console. Tomcat server coming or not coming? Coming or not coming? Coming. Dependency added or not added? Not added. The reason is here, if you have web starter, then by default Tomcat will come. Whether the Tomcat dependency available or not available, it doesn't matter. Whether it is available or not available doesn't matter. If you have web starter, then by default Tomcat will come as default embedded server. In the interview, they will ask a question. I don't want to use Tomcat as a embedded server. How to change the embedded server in the Spring Boot? That is a valid interview question and a very famous interview question. By default, when I create the boot application with the web starter, Tomcat is coming as a default embedded container. Now I don't want to go for Tomcat as a embedded container. I want to go for Jetty as a embedded container. That is also another web server. But how to change that? Now here, the interview question, how to change from Tomcat to Jetty? How to change embedded container? How to change embedded container from Tomcat to Jetty? Jetty is another web server that we have for the Java application. The process is very simple. Here in the web starter, by default, it is coming with the Tomcat. Can I call that is a transitive dependency management? In the Maven classes we discussed what is a transitive dependency management. So now here, whenever you add a web starter, by default, Tomcat is coming as a child dependency. Now you can check it in the Maven dependency section of our project. Now here you can see Spring Boot starter Tomcat. Can you see here? Available or not available? Available. When I select web starter, by default, boot starter Tomcat is coming as a embedded container. In order to change that, first we need to add Spring Boot starter Jetty. We need to add the Jetty dependency in the pom.xml. Spring Boot starter Jetty. After adding Jetty dependency, we need to exclude that child dependency from here. Do you know how to do that exclusions? Right. Let me go here. In the web starter, I will configure exclusions. In the exclusions, I will configure exclusion. In the exclusion, I will configure group ID and artifact ID. Which one we want to exclude? This one. Spring Framework Boot Starter Tomcat. That is the group ID and this is the artifact ID. Perfect. Okay, two changes I have done in the project, guys. First change is from the web starter, I am excluding starter Tomcat and I am adding boot starter Jetty dependency. Now let me go to my project. Now can you see Spring Boot starter Tomcat available or Spring Boot starter Jetty available? Only Jetty available. What about the Tomcat? That Tomcat got excluded. Perfect. Now let me run my project. Right click, refresh, run as boot application. Go to the console, check this. Which server is coming now? Jetty. What is the default port number for the Jetty? 8080 only. Now let me create one controller and let me access that. Okay. In the start class package itself, I'm creating one controller called message controller. I'm creating one controller class message controller. How to make this as a controller? By using @controller annotation. Then I need to write one method, public string welcome message. That's it. Okay. I want to send that message to the UI. How can I do that? @modal, then modal dot add attribute of key comma value. So let me take it as a message and I'm giving good evening, something like this. I want to map this method to the get request. How can I do that? For that, I will go for one annotation called @get mapping. @get mapping with the /URL pattern. URL pattern can be anything. Okay. Then let me return welcome page. Whatever the UI view page, return index. Right. So can I say this is my controller now? Can I say this is my controller now? Yes. I'm making this class as a controller by using @controller annotation. Then I am writing one method. That method I am mapping to get request. To map the method to the get request, I'm going for @get mapping. In this method, I'm taking modal object as a parameter. What is the purpose of this modal object? To send the data from controller to UI in the form of a key and value. What is this index? View page. It is the index view page. Now go to our project and resources, templates, time-lived template. Now new other HTML file. Click on next. In the resources, templates available. Let me give that name as index.html. Click on next, click on finish. Fine. With this, I am able to create. How to use the time-lived? First, I need to configure XML ns colon th is equal to www.timeleave.org. How to verify this URL correct or not? Just go to browser and hit that URL. If a website is opening, that is your correct URL. Then I want to access my key. Key name is message. How to access? th colon text is equal to dollar of message. ph colon text is equal to dollar of message. Okay, fine, good. Let me start my application. Right click, refresh, run as boot application. Run as boot application. It started. Go back here. Localhost colon 8080. Am I able to get that? Which server is working now? Tomcat or Jetty? Jetty. How I change it from Tomcat to Jetty? We need to exclude Tomcat. First of all, whenever you select web starter, Tomcat dependency coming. I removed Tomcat dependency. Only removal is sufficient, or we need to exclude also? We need to exclude, and we configured Jetty. Let me add that point here. How to change from Tomcat to Jetty as a embedded server? How to change embedded container from Tomcat to Jetty? Very famous interview question. 2 steps that you need to do. First step is exclude Tomcat starter from the web starter. Exclude Tomcat starter from web starter. Then second step, add Jetty starter. Exclude Tomcat starter from web starter in pom.xml file using exclusions. Okay, then add Jetty starter dependency in pom.xml file. Okay, so here I made those changes, guys. This is the change that I made. Okay, so here we are having web starter. Whenever we add web starter, by default Tomcat starter is coming. Now I don't want that. Okay, so here I'm removing that by using exclusion, and I'm adding Jetty as a dependency. So with this we know that. Now remember, what is the port number of Jetty? 8080. What is the port number of the Tomcat? 8080. Any embedded container you take, the port number is 8080 only. Okay, fine. With this we know how to change embedded container from Tomcat to Jetty. And the next one, how to change embedded container port number. How to change embedded container port number? Server.port. What is the default port number? 8080. Suppose if I want to change it, application.properties file is available. Here we can configure server.port. Server.port is equal server.port. Server.port is equal to 8081. It is common for Tomcat or Jetty. Once we made that change, refresh our project, then right click, run as boot application. Click on console. Now check my project is running on which port number? 8081 port number. Go to browser, localhost colon 8081. I'm able to access that. Then how to configure context path in the Spring Boot? What is the context path? How to configure context path in Spring Boot? What is the context path? What is the context path in the Spring Boot? I explained in the class also. What is the context path in the Spring Boot? You forgot, huh? Right. Context path is the project name in the URL. In the Spring Boot, what is the context path? Arey yaar. How many times you are running the boot application? How many times you are running the boot application daily? It will show you context path empty, right? Context, what is the default context path in the Spring Boot? empty slash. Now I want here in the URL, am I specifying my project name in the URL or I'm not specifying my project name in the URL? I'm not specifying my project name in the URL. I want to specify project name in the URL. How to set project name in the URL? By using context path. Okay. So do you know how to configure a context path in the Spring Boot? In the properties file, we need to configure that. Whatever we learned 10 days back, we forgot. Right. Server.servlet.context path. I'm going to configure that as something like this. Now my project name should be added in the URL. I changed context path of my project. Once I change the context path, can I access like this? What it is saying now? 404. What I need to do now? I need to give my URL. Then only I can access. That is called context path. In the Spring Boot, what is the context path by default? Empty. Do you know how to configure context path in the Spring Boot? How to configure context path in the Spring Boot? Come on. Server.servlet.context path is equal to Ashok IT. Like something, any name. You can give any name for that. That name we can use in the URL. By default, context path will not be available in the embedded container. If you want, you can configure that context path there. Are you guys clear? Perfect. Now, guys, in the controller, I want to write one more method. Okay, go for message controller. Okay, stop this. Currently, my method is returning string. What is the meaning of that string? What is the meaning of that string? Index. That is a view page. Now, let me write one more method. Public string, say hi. Public string, say hi. Now I will say string message is equal to hey, hello. Say hello. Let me take. Say hello. Hello. How are you? Okay. Now this is my method. Return message. Return message. What is the return type of my method? String. Now let me write this slash get mapping slash hello. Now tell me, what is the difference between these two methods? Observe carefully, apply your common sense and tell me what is the difference between these two methods. Guys, I have one doubt. In the evening Spring Boot class, full strength is coming. In the JRTP, why full strength is not coming? In the project batch, I am not able to see full strength. आ रहा है क्या? कल count करेंगे. No. When I see in the project class, I'm able to see some chairs empty in the project class, but in the Spring Boot classroom is full. But in the JRTP classroom is not full. डर गए क्या? Why? Project? I did not get you, man. Same strength should come for the project also, right? Why who is absent for the project? Tomorrow we need to find out that. Right. Yeah. Observe these two methods and tell me what is the difference. My first method returning view page. My second method returning direct response. My first method returning view page. My second method returning direct response. Now observe the behavior. Let me run this project. Project clean. Run as boot application. Okay, application started. Clear the console. Okay, now go here. Localhost colon context path available. Huh? Let me remove this. Not required. Okay. Localhost colon 8080 slash. That's it. One. Okay. Now, am I able to get the good evening? Yes. Can I say it is my web page? Can I say it is my web page? Yes. Message controller. I am sending a request to first method. When I am not giving any URL pattern, it is going to my first method. Then in the first method got executed. It is returning index. Index is my HTML. Whatever the message controller is sending, I'm able to access that in the index page. But what about second method? What second method is doing? Now see here, represent this 8081 slash hello. Now what happened? Y double error is coming. Now the reason is observe carefully, concentrate guys, very important topic. Whenever controller class method returning string as a return type, then dispatcher will think that it is a view name. Getting my point? When our controller class method returning string as a return type, dispatcher will consider that as a view name. It will search for a view file with that name. Okay, you got my point? I'm repeating once again. I'm writing my controller class. Inside the controller class, I have written two methods. Both methods are binded to get request only. Both methods are returning string only. Okay. When your method returning string, that will be considered as a view name. That will be considered as a view name. Now, first method returning what? Index. Do we have a view with a name called index? Yes. Index.html is available. That page got loaded. Now I am sending the request for the second method. What second method returning? String only. What is that string? Hello, how are you? So now when you send the request for the second method, it will think that this is the name of the view. Dispatcher servlet thinking that is the name of the view, but that is a name or that is the response I want to send. That is the response I want to send. Here, dispatcher servlet not able to understand that. Dispatcher servlet thinking first method returning the view page, second method also returning the view page. But as a programmer, I know that my first method returning the view page, my second method returning the response directly to the browser. I don't need any view resolver. I don't need any view pages. You send me the request, I will give you the response. Okay. Whenever methods are returning the response directly, then we need to write one annotation called response body. We need to write one annotation called response body. When we write the annotation @response body, dispatcher will think that, okay, this method is not returning the view page. Whatever this method is returning, that is a direct response to the client who sent the request for this method. Now go to our first method, localhost colon 8081. View page is loaded or not? Now the proof I can show you. This is, here I can say, this is index page. This is index page. Send the request. Yes. Index page is loaded or not? When I send the request for the first method, it is returning the string. That string is a index. When I send the request for that, I'm getting the response from the view page. Now let me go for second method, hello. Now send the request. What happened now? Hello, how are you? Is it returning the view or it is returning the direct response? It is returning the direct response. Let me tell you in which scenario we need to go for this response directly. Now, I am going to develop one web page. I want to develop one registration page, guys. In the registration page, I am having name. and I'm having email, and I'm having password and phone number. Okay, this is my form which is used for user registration. User registration page available, name available, email available, password available, and phone number is available. Then there is a submit button. There is a submit button. Now, first time user has to land on my form. User should land on my form. Now here I will write one method, public string load form. Public string load form. Here I will return index. What is my index? My index is a view page name. Now here I will set model object, guys. So in the model object I will set some data. Binding object also I am going to set here. How to set the binding object to the model? M dot add attribute. Now something like user comma new user. Okay, so this is my logic. This is my logic. My method is returning index. What is the meaning of index here? What is the meaning of index here? The index is a view page here. The index is a view page here. Perfect. Good. Are you clear with this method? Yes. When my controller method got executed, that is returning the string. That string name is a view name. That view page will be rendered. Now, my page got loaded. My page got loaded. Here, user is trying to register. User entered one mail ID, something like ashok@gmail.com. Whatever the mail ID that entered by the user, already that mail ID used in our system. Other user already created account with the same mail ID. When user already created account with the same mail ID, I will say duplicate email. What is the message I want to display? Duplicate email. So in the Gmail, when you are creating an account, will it accept duplicate email? So will it wait to submit the form? No. The moment, see here guys, I go to Gmail here. I want to create an account in the Gmail. Okay. Use another account or create account for myself. I want to create my own account. Take the first name, last name, next. Now asking some date of birth, some value. Okay, next. Create your own Gmail address. Yeah. Now it is asking to enter my Gmail ID. Let me go for ashokid.online01. ashokid.online01. Click on next. What happened? That username is already taken. So I have a mail with that mail ID. I'm trying to create another Gmail account with the same mail ID. Is it accepting that? Not accepting that. It is not accepting that. So whenever I click on this, I'm going to write one method, public string mail check. I will write one method called email check. Here, logic will be available to check that. I'm going to return a message, duplicate email. Duplicate email. That is the view name, or that is the response I'm sending to the UI. Some methods will send view pages. Some methods will return the view name in the controller. Some methods will return direct response to the UI. When you want to return direct response to the UI, you need to write the method with @response body. Got it, guys? So here I'm writing my controller method. In my controller, there are two methods available. Both methods are binded to get request only. One method is returning the string, that is a index. What is the meaning of index? What is the meaning of index? That is a view page. But what about my second method? What about my second method? My second method not returning the view page. Whatever the value that I am returning, that is a direct response. How to tell to the dispatcher servlet this is a direct response? By using @response body. By using @response body. Here, whenever you are writing controller plus response body, that is equal to rest controller. Earlier people used to write controller with simple example. Let me go for another scenario. Here I'm having passport application, guys, and here I'm having Aadhaar application. So this is my passport app. This is my passport application and this is my Aadhaar application. Passport application will send Aadhaar number for the Aadhaar application. In the Aadhaar application, there is a controller method available. Now, when the passport application send a request for the Aadhaar application with the Aadhaar number, Aadhaar application will return it is valid Aadhaar number. That's it. Okay. So passport is one application, Aadhaar is another application. Passport application sending the request to Aadhaar application controller. Aadhaar application controller method. Aadhaar will give the view page to the passport. Aadhaar should give response to the passport. Aadhaar should give response to the passport. Now earlier, whatever the controller methods we created, whatever controller method returning view pages. Some scenarios we need to return the view pages. Some scenarios we should not return the view page. We need to return direct response. How to represent that? My method is returning the response directly by writing at the rate response body. Are you guys clear with my point? Earlier, if you want to develop distributed application, we are going to use controller plus response body combination. But from the Spring 3.0, if you want to write a method to return the response directly, you no need to write a controller plus response body. What you can do is, this controller we will make as a REST controller. If I make my controller as a REST controller, every method, whatever it is returning, that is a response. It is not a view now. So now let me send a request to first method. When I send a request to first method, what response I will get? Index I will get. Is it a view now or it is not a view now? Why it is not a view? What is this, controller or REST controller? It is a REST controller. What is the meaning of REST controller? Controller plus response body. Now go back to our application and make a request. So now 8081. What is response I'm coming? Index is the response. Why index is coming? At the rate REST controller. When I give at the rate REST controller, what will happen? Controller plus response body. Every method will contain response body annotation when I write the REST controller. Now, the most famous interview question in the Spring. What is the difference between controller and REST controller? What is the difference between controller and REST controller? Controller is used to deal with C2B communication. REST controller used to deal with B2B communication. What is the meaning of B2B? You send the request, I will give the response. For the controller, you send the request, I will give the web page. Are you getting my point? Controller methods always will return view pages. REST controller methods always will return response body. Now they may ask a question. From the controller, can I return the response without view? Yes or no? That is what we discussed now. Here, I'm having an annotation as a controller. Now, if I have a controller, if I send a request to this method, what will be the response? Now it will give view page as a response. Now, what this method will return? Response. But what it will consider by default? It will consider as a view page. Do I have a page with this name? No. How to tell to dispatcher? This method will return the view page. This method will return the response. At the rate response body. So here, now in my controller, there are, observe carefully guys, very important concept now. I'm writing controller. In my controller, there are two methods available. Both methods are binded to get request only. Both methods return type is string only. When your controller method returning the string, Dispatcher will think that it is a view page. It will search for the view page in the project. Now I am sending request to first method. What is the return type of the first method? Index. Response body available, response body not available. Response body not available. When the response body not available, this is view name. Go to browser, send a request. Now what happened? View page is loaded. Suppose for example, here if I write response body, here, what will happen? If I write response body, what will happen? Now it is a view name or it is a response directly? It is a response directly. Go here and send the request. Index coming as a response. Now here I have a second method. This method is returning hello, how are you? It is a view name or it is a direct response? How to represent that it is a direct response? By writing @response body. By writing @response body. Now send the request for 8081. Hello. I'm getting the response directly. View pages available or view pages not available now? Not available. Suppose I have a controller with 10 methods like this. Every method will return the response body. Is it recommended to write response body, response body, response body? No. What is the solution? REST controller. If I make my controller as a REST controller, what will happen? Every method will return the direct response body. There is no view page here. When you are going to develop distributed applications, we are going to create REST controllers. When we are going to develop a web application, we are going to create the controller. Are you getting my point? From next Monday, every day we are going to create a REST controller only, because I want to develop distributed application. One application will send the request to another application. That application will send the response to this application. Data will exchange, not the web pages. Customer to business means web pages. Business to business means request, response. Are you clear? Now, tell me, what is the difference between controller and REST controller? Controllers are used to return the view pages. REST controllers are used to return the direct responses. From the controller, can I return the response? How? How? By writing @response body at the method level. Okay, guys. Now here, controller is available. Controller class available. Now answer my questions clearly. I am having controller or REST controller. I'm having controller or REST controller. I'm having a controller. When to go for controller? When to go for controller? When your application is returning the view name, when your method want to return the view name, then you need to take a controller. Suppose my methods want to return response, not the views. Then I should go for REST controller. Now this is controller. If I send a request to this method, what will be my output? What will be the output? View page will come as a output. Why view page will come as a output? Because it is a controller and returning the index. Index will be treated as a view name. Now go here and send the request. What is loaded? Index page is loaded because it is returning the index name. Now I'm sending the request to second method. What will be the output? I'm sending the request for second method. What the second method returning? Message. What is the value? Hello, how are you? Do I have a page with that name? No. Then what will happen? I will get the error. Go to that method, send the request. White label, error. Now, what the dispatchers are like thinking in the both scenarios? It is thinking both methods are returning the view names. But first method returning the view name, second method returning the response. I know that. How dispatchers are let will know that? How to tell to dispatcher that my second method returning the response? @response body. Now let me write one annotation. @response body. Now, so if I send a request for the first method, what is the output? Index page. If I send a request for second method, what is the output? Hello, how are you? Why hello, how are you will come directly? Because response body. What is the meaning of response body? I'm telling that there is no view for this method. Whatever this method is returning, directly send to the client. Directly send to the client. Now go here, send the request. Am I getting the response directly? Yes, I'm getting the response directly. Now I will make this as a REST controller, guys. Okay. Now I am making this as a REST controller. If I send a request for the second method, what will be the output? What is the output? Hello, how are you? Why? It is a REST controller. It is a REST controller. Am I getting the response? Yes, I'm getting. If I send a request to first method, what is the output? Index. Why index? Why not index page? Because it is a REST controller. When I'm writing the REST controller, do I need to write this or not required? Not required. When I need to write this response body, if the class is a controller, if your method want to return the response directly, then only I need to write that. For example, I am making this as a controller. Now, what is the output from the first method? What is the output from the first method? View page. What is the output from the second method? Direct response. Okay. Now I will take it here. I will write it here. Then both are REST methods only. Both are REST methods only. Controller plus response body is equal to REST controller. Now I will remove this here. I will remove this here. I will add it here. Now what happened? Every method will become REST method. Every method will become REST method. Suppose my application is having a combination of C2B, B2B. One method should return the view page, another method should return the response. Then we should not write this at the class level. If I write that at the class level, what will happen? If I write at the class level, what will happen? Every method will become REST controller. My complete class will become REST controller. Okay. First method should return the view page. Second method should return the response. Then at the method level, I am writing the response body annotation. See, recently, one person from 27 SBMS, our batch is 29, right? 27 SBMS, my evening 7:30 batch. I think 2 days back, he told that he asked a question. Sir, in the interview, they asked a question. Can you tell me Spring annotations which we can use at the class level as well as at the method level? Response body, can I say as an example? I can use that at the class level and I can use that at the method level. They will ask these kind of tricky questions also. Can you tell some annotations which we can use at the class level as well as at the method level? For example, auto wiring is available. Can I use at the class level? Auto wiring we can't use at the class level. That can be used at the method level, constructor level, variable level, not at the class level. For example, @bin, method level. @bin is a method level annotation. @component, @controller, @REST controller, @response body, both. That can be used at the class level and it can be used at the method level also. Now, did you get the clarity? What is a controller and a REST controller? Yes, come on, tell me. What is the controller and a REST controller? Controller is used to deal with C2B request. REST controllers are used to deal with B2B request. Can I return response from my controller method directly? Yes. How to return response from the controller method directly? By writing @response body. Controller plus response body is equal to REST controller. Perfect. With this, we got the concept. That is the most famous interview question. Difference between controller and REST controller. So now, controller and REST controller are stereotype annotations. They are used to represent our Java class as a Spring Bean. Initially, we discussed component, service, repository, configuration, bean. At that time, I told controller, REST controller also used to represent the class as a Spring Bean. But in the web MVC, we are going to use them. Now we are able to use controller and REST controller. Are you guys clear? Good. What is the purpose of response body? When to use the response body? If you want to send a direct response from controller method, then go for response body. If I want to return direct response from every method, then I will go for REST controller. Are you clear? Good. Next one, guys, whenever we are developing controllers or REST controllers, the method URL patterns should be unique. Method URL patterns should be unique. Suppose if I remove this from here, now how many methods are available? 2 methods are available. What is the URL pattern? Slash and slash. Now if I send a request to 8081, which method should execute? Which method should execute now? FIFO or LIFO? It is ambiguity. If you write the URL patterns like this, your application cannot start. Your application cannot start. When the application is starting, component scanning will happen. Not only classes, it will scan URL patterns also in our project. It will scan URL patterns also in our project. What is the URL pattern for the first method? Nothing. What is the URL pattern for the second method? Nothing. This is binded to get request. This is also binded to get request. Now suppose if I send the request like this, http://localhost:8081, which method should execute? Ambiguity. Dispatcher servlet cannot identify which method binded to that URL. Actually, two methods are binded to the same URL pattern. That will become ambiguity problem. Always we need to make sure our methods are having unique URL patterns. Okay. Suppose now if I give here /welcome. Now if I give as hello. Any confusion? No. /welcome is binded to first method. /hello is binded to second method. Clear? Next one. Let me create one more REST controller. Now class greet controller. Sorry. I'm creating one more class called greet controller. Let me stop it. How to make this class as a controller? By using @controller. Now let me write one message. Yeah, fine. Now I'm writing in one controller. I have welcome message method that is binded to /welcome. In the another controller also, I have the method. Here I will change the method name to M1. Okay, I'm giving the message as good night, something like this. Now, if I send the request to /welcome, first controller method will execute or second controller method will execute. Again, ambiguity. In the project level, two methods are binded to same URL pattern. Is it accepted or not accepted? Let us try to run our project and see that. Right click, refresh, run as boot application. Clear the console. Application started or not started? Not started. Application failed to start. Why it is failed to start? Scanning happened in the whole project. There are two methods binded to get request, same URL pattern. Okay. Now you see this method binded to welcome in the greet controller. In the message controller, this method also binded to /welcome get request. For example, now I will change this to post mapping. Okay, let me remove greet controller URL pattern to /greet. Any problem if I go for /greet? Any problem if I go for /greet? No. Why? Unique URL pattern. Na? Now, in this controller, here also I am writing hello. And here also I am writing hello. Any problem or no problem? Problem or no problem? Problem. Why problem? Both are binded to same URL pattern. You are wrong. There is no problem. One method is binded to get request. Another method is binded to post request. Where is your common sense? Now, when I send a request to /hello, now which method will execute? First method or second method? Why first method? I'm sending which request? From the browser I'm sending get request. First method will execute. Let me start the server. Here it is binded to get request and it is binded to post request. So types of the requests are different. Don't check only URL pattern. Check the request type also. Now my application started successfully. I will send a get request with a /hello. What will happen? Will go to first method or not? Yes, I'm sending. From the browser, whenever you send a request, by default that will be get request only. Suppose if I map this method also to the get request, then there is a problem. Both are get request methods, both are having the same URL pattern. Are you guys clear? So in the project, this is very common to get the ambiguity URLs. Yes or no? Some developers are working from one location, some developers are working from other location. So there is a chance that multiple developers may use same URL pattern for the methods. Then our project will run into ambiguity problem. How to overcome the ambiguity problem? To overcome the ambiguity problem, see here, message controller is available. I'm writing the URL pattern as a message only. Okay. Go to greet controller. I will also write here as a message only. Now, message controller binded to get mapping with a message URL pattern. Greet controller also binded to get mapping with a message URL. This is a get request. This is also get request only. Now, if I send a request /get/message, which will be called ambiguity or no ambiguity? Ambiguity. Why ambiguity? Get mapping with a message. Get mapping with a message. Ambiguity. To overcome this, generally, people will write class level URL pattern and method level URL pattern, so that we can differentiate them. Okay. So here, message controller is available. Here I am having a message, or else let me say here, hello. Hello, good evening. This is from message controller. So I'm giving the URL pattern as hello. Okay. So here I'm giving URL pattern as hello, message, hello, good night. All right. So here message controller is binded to hello URL pattern. Greet controller method also binded to hello URL pattern. Ambiguity is there or ambiguity is not there? Ambiguity is there because two controllers are having two methods. Two methods are binded to get request. URL pattern is also same. There is a ambiguity. To resolve this ambiguity, I will write class level annotation, class level mapping. This one I will map @request mapping /greet. Here I will go here and I will write one more annotation, request mapping /welcome, something like this. Greet controller and welcome controller is available. Now ambiguity is there, ambiguity not there. Ambiguity not there. Why? Because this method URL is binded like this: http://localhost:8081/welcome/hello. When you send the request to this URL, this is a class level URL, this is a method level URL. Now, if you go for greet controller, this method, how to access this method? Now, greet hello. Both URLs are same, both URLs are different. Now let's try. Run this application, refresh, right click, run as boot application. Run as boot application. Go to console, clear the console. Application started. Now let me take this URL. What message should come? Good night should come. Okay, close these tabs. Greet hello. I'm getting hello, good night. Now message controller /welcome/hello. What response? Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Am I able to get that? Yes. So we are able to differentiate the URLs, and we are able to resolve ambiguity problem. So what is the best way to resolve the ambiguity problem? For every class, give one URL pattern. How to give the URL pattern at the class level? At the rate request mapping. Now, in this class, whatever the methods you write, that should be having class URL pattern. Then only method URL pattern will come. Like this, we can avoid ambiguity, URLs ambiguity in the project. Class level URL mapping, method level URL mapping also will be available. For example, now I am removing method level URL pattern. Is it valid or invalid? Valid. How to access this method now? Remove it. Slash. With the class level URL pattern, I'm able to access that. If a method is having the URL, class pattern slash method pattern. Like that, you can map URL patterns. Good. So you need to remember the point is always in our project, our methods should have unique identification. Every controller method, every REST controller method should have unique identification. So there is a chance of getting the ambiguity. To resolve that ambiguity, write the class level URL and method level URL so that you can differentiate them. Even though greet controller method is having slash hello with the get mapping, message controller having slash hello with the get mapping, why ambiguity not coming? Class is binded to URL pattern. This will become slash welcome slash hello. This will become slash greet slash hello. Are you clear? Yes, good. पोस्टमैन से कॉल करना पड़ेगा. फॉर्म सबमिट पोस्ट मैपिंग होता है ना. फॉर्म एक्शन इज इक्वल टू पोस्ट. In the form tag we'll write method is equal to post. When you submit, it will send the post request. In the postman tool, we can send the post request. Same page. No. Page will not be. Suppose if your UI page is available, from the UI, if you click on submit, if method is called, response will come to the same page. Okay. Now you have this page is already loaded. And whenever email is entered, you will make a backend Ajax call. That will give the response. Where you will get that response? So the same page. But in the second scenario, my page is not available. Directly respond. Whoever is sending the request, for them direct response will come. There is no page. Page you did not say that. Whatever the response you get, that response you send in the REST API, you will understand that. Okay. So there will not be any page. Passport application sending request. Aadhaar application will give the response. Response taken by passport. Passport will send it to its page. So that is the backend processing. In the REST development, you will get that concept. Sorry? No, method URL should be different. But for the whenever it is checking the ambiguity, no. What he is asking is, what his question is, one class is a REST controller, another class is a controller. Can I use the same URL pattern? Is that your question? You should not, because whether it is a controller or REST controller, it is a get method only, right? For get method, URL should be different. Whether it is a controller or REST controller, doesn't matter. Your method is binded to get request. Two methods are binded to get request. Two methods are binded to same URL. That is invalid. Right. Yeah. Fine, guys. So here we understood controller versus REST controller. Do you know what is response body annotation? Come on. What is response body annotation? What is the response body annotation? If a controller method want to send the response directly to the client, whoever is sending the request, directly to send the response to them, In the controller, I will write @response body. And another famous interview question, what is @controller and @rest controller? Can you tell me what is a controller and what is a rest controller? Controller is used to return the view pages. Rest controllers will return the direct response. Okay, guys. Now, what is the URL ambiguity in the web MVC? What is the URL ambiguity in the Spring Web MVC? When multiple methods are binded to same request with the same URL pattern, then you will get the URL ambiguity. How to resolve that URL ambiguity? By writing class level mapping. How to write the class level mapping? @request mapping. Actually, guys, in the Spring up to 3.0, this get mapping is not available, post mapping is not available. You see get mapping, in which version it came? Spring 4.3. It came in the Spring 4.3. Earlier, people used to write this also at the request mapping as a hello. Okay. So now, what is the meaning of this? What is the meaning of this? Come on. This is correct. This is welcome is a class level URL. Hello is a method level URL. Whenever you write the request mapping at the method level, by default it is binded to get request. Now, suppose if I want to map the method to post request now, then we need to write value is equal to this and method is equal to HTTP method dot post. HTTP method dot post. Like this we need to specify. But in the later, in the Spring 4, what they have done is, array, why to write the request mapping? Again, give the method as post, put, to delete. Let us give directly get mapping, put mapping, post mapping. So that's why the direct annotations came into picture. This also you can say request mapping annotation can be used at the method level as well as at the class level. So earlier, before Spring 4.x version, people used to bind the methods to URLs by using request mapping. By default will become get only. Suppose if I want to bind to post request, then I need to specify method is equal to post. But now what I am doing, I don't write like this. I will go for get mapping, post mapping, put mapping directly. What is the advantage? Directly these methods are binded to particular type of request. Got it? Yes. See this. What is the URL ambiguity in the web MVC? We understood. What is the controller and rest controller? Controller will return the view pages. Rest controllers will return the response. What is response body? What is response body? Controller method will return the response. How to configure context path in the Spring Boot? Server.servlet.context path. By default, what is the context path? /. How to change the port number? Embedded container port number. Server.port. How to change from embedded container from Tomcat to Jetty? Exclude Tomcat. Configure Jetty. What is the model attribute? To set the binding object to the view page. Now, we are able to perform CRUD operations by using these technologies. And we are able to perform form validations. And we have seen time leaf. And we have seen H2 database, form tag library, request param. What is the purpose of request param? To capture the query parameter. What is the get mapping and post mapping? Get mapping is used to bind our method to get request. Post mapping is used to bind it to post request. Right. What is view? Render model data on the view page. What is view resolver? What is view resolver? To identify where our view files are available. What is the model and view? It is used to send data and the view name, predefined class. What is the controller? What is controller? To handle the request and response. What is handler mapper? To identify which method should be handled by which controller. What is dispatcher servlet? That is a front controller responsible to perform pre-processing and post processing. What is WebMVC? Come on. That is used to develop web applications with the form binding and multiple presentation technologies. Good guys, so we covered all these concepts in the WebMVC. And one more concept is there, how to handle exceptions in the WebMVC. In the tomorrow session, I'm going to explain how to handle exceptions in the Spring WebMVC. Got it? Yes. Any questions, anyone? Online people? Ravi, I answered your question, man. Tomorrow I will explain that. Okay, good. Yeah, online students, you can ask your question.
Hello, sir.
हाँ भाई बोलो.
Good evening, sir.
Very good
Sir,
evening.
Sir, can we configure multiple URL pattern with single method, sir?
For single method, multiple URL patterns. Yes, sir. He asked a very good question. Guys, listen. He is asking a question. Can we configure multiple URL patterns for a method? Yes, we can do that. That is possible. So if you see here, there is an option called value. What is the value taking? String array. Now here, I will write like this, slash hi, comma, slash hello. And I can write empty also. My method is binded to multiple URL pattern. If you access any URL pattern, that method will be accessed. So like this, you can configure more than one URL pattern for method also. Who is this guy? Who asked this question? Good
Yes,
question.
sir, Nishant.
Nishant, very good question. Yes, it is possible to map one method to multiple URL patterns. Yes, we can do that. Yeah. Next question.
So
Sir,
with respect to the
Sir, one more question, sir.
Yeah, Nishant, go ahead.
Sir, what is difference between request mapping and get mapping, sir?
Get mapping, post mapping. Get mapping is used to map your method to get request. Post mapping is used to map your method to post request. When we are submitting the form data, we will map our method to the post request, na?
Yes, sir.
Huh.
Sir,
When
sir,
you are getting the
request
data,
mapping,
we will
sir.
map to get request.
Request mapping and get mapping, sir.
Post mapping means
Request
post mapping to
mapping,
map
sir.
to post
Request
request.
mapping.
Get mapping to map to get request.
Sir, request mapping, sir. Today
Request
we use...
mapping, I told you, that is outdated annotation. Up
Yes,
to
sir.
boot 3.0, we used it to go for request mapping. From the 4.0, we are not using request mapping. Directly, we are going for get or post. No need to go for request mapping now.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Is that multiple URL pattern we need to
Multiple URL patterns you can configure, but no use of that. It is possible.
No, like suppose I want to send for
Guys,
same
be silent.
URL.
I'm not able to hear our question. Who is asking? Sohini? Could you speak loudly?
Yeah, so the thing is for multiple URL pattern in a single method, if I want to send sometimes ID and sometimes you don't want to send the ID with respect to some condition if I need to do, then what?
No. Conditional based URLs, we can't do that. You can write multiple patterns. By using any pattern, you can access it.
Okay. And one more thing, that response body, as you said, it can be used both class level and method level.
Yes,
so
response body. Tell me.
Class level.
Class level, yes, we can use that now. We use response body at the class level also. If you use response body at the class level, it will be applicable for all the methods in that class.
Okay, and one more question, that context path we are setting application dot properties, right? So
yes.
What is the need? We can do it with the @request mapping only, right? Or
@request mapping is at the class level. Context path is for the whole project.
Okay,
you got it?
Okay.
Whole project.
Okay, like in our real life project, we usually do it with request mapping.
Yes, we will use context path. Yes.
Hello, sir. Hello,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Sir, can you clarify that application.java and servlet initialization once again?
Servlet initializer class I have not explained. I will explain that. Okay.
And that is application.java, sir.
1 minute. I will open that. Yeah. Can you see the class application.java? That is my
Yes,
start
sir.
class in the Spring Boot.
Yes, sir.
This is basic start class, madam. We are discussing from last 1.5 months. What is start class in the Spring Boot?
Yeah, yeah.
It is
And
the entry
server
point for boot application.
boot application, right, sir. And servlet initializer, sir.
Servlet initializer class, I told you. I have not explained. I will
Okay,
explain
okay.
that.
And in the project, sir, only one controller class will be available, no?
You
In the
can
whole
create
project.
multiple controllers also. I created multiple controllers. You can create multiple controllers also.
Okay, sir.
It's not
Hmm.
mandatory to create only one controller. How many you want, you can create those many controllers. Depends on your requirement.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Suppose if I have 10 pages, why should create only one controller? I will go for multiple controller, right?
Yeah.
So the question that was asked in the interview, like class level and method level, both the levels we can use, that is request body and request mapping only, or other
Request
annotations?
response body annotation, we can use
Oh,
that.
sorry, response. Yeah.
Response body, and we can use request mapping annotation also at both levels.
Okay.
Yep. Guys, now, are you confident on the Spring Web MVC? Or not confident? We are confident. So don't think that Spring Web MVC completed. For the next 1 month, we are going to work with the Web MVC only. So, but from Monday, UI pages will not be available. From the Monday, everything will become REST controller. Okay, guys. Now we worked on the UI, JSP and timely. From Monday, no JSP, no timely. Only request and response. That is REST controller. We are going to develop microservices from Monday. So to develop the microservices, we are going to develop only REST API. REST API nothing but no UI. Request and response will be available. So tomorrow we will work on exception handling part. Tomorrow and day after tomorrow. And Monday we will start with the REST API with the microservices. That is called our Java microservices concept. Next 1 month is damn important for you. The main purpose of learning the Spring Boot to develop microservices only. To develop the microservices, we need to work on the RESTful services first. So first 15 days we will work on the RESTful services. Next 15 days we will work on the microservices. Got it? Fine. Thank you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. And did you complete the analysis of the database? How many tables? 3 or 4 or 5? Tomorrow I will tell you. Online students, thank you. Bye for now. We'll meet again tomorrow.